Ready? Hi.
Ron? All right, if I could welcome everyone to the April 20th, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. If everyone could please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my left is Gary Merrill, our Vice President. To my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, our Administrator Faizan Ahmed, and our Clerk today is Sarah DeNova. So let's start.
Resolution number 17-391, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held April 17, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-391. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no one signed up for public or elected comment today. Resolution number 17-392, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then announce certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CMA PR 0419 and procurement card payments in batch numbers PCA PR 0419.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-392. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-393, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-393. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-394, in the matter of adopting the statement of rationale, approve the abolishment of positions and the layoff employees and proceeding with the abolishment of positions within the Department of Job and Family Services and authorizing the county administrator with the assistance of the director of the Department of Job and Family Services to proceed with the abolishment and layoffs.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Good morning, Commissioners. I'm David Dombrowski, Director of Job and Family Services. So over the past few years, we've seen a decline in the number of cases, public assistance cases in Delaware County. There's a direct correlation between an improved economy, a low unemployment rate, and how that corresponds to people receiving public assistance throughout the county. So within the Job and Family Services Agency, there's 3 divisions, one of which is the Workforce Development Division. That division is responsible for the WIOA programs, which are the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act programs, which are all related to helping people who are currently unemployed to find employment, and also youth who are either in school or out of school youth are also worked with in that program. In the Ohio Works First program and the SNAP program, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which you guys probably know better as the old food stamp program. Folks who receive those types of benefits have to do some type of work participation in order to continue to be eligible for their benefits. And so kind of overall within the agency, or within that division then, the OWF caseload since 2013 has declined by 40%. The SNAP program, the number of recipients has declined by 18%. The number of WIOA folks served has also declined over time. And ODJFS is implementing a rule change come July 1, which will further reduce the number by an additional 57% of folks who are required to participate in these activities. So we did an extensive look at our current staffing structure, current workloads, how many cases each person's doing, how many hours, et cetera. We worked with staff to assist us with getting those numbers. And as a result, unfortunately have come to the conclusion that we could eliminate 3 employment counselor positions and also eliminate 1 site trainer position. So I am asking for your approval today. Okay.
It's my understanding that there are going to be some other openings that these people are qualified for.
Yes, ma'am.
They are free to apply for.
Yeah, so we are encouraging folks. There are 4 current vacancies in the income maintenance or public assistance division. And folks, we set up an expedited application process.
Okay.
So folks, we have let them know they have until next Wednesday to apply. They would go through an assessment, which is standard for somebody being hired into the position, go through a very quick expedited interview process, and if qualified, we'll hire them into the positions. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yes.
Okay.
I'd just like to add to that. I appreciate Commissioner Lewis asking that question, as my understanding as well. And I want to commend you for, as leader, to making that evaluation to determine overstaff. We already talking about, in this case, I think it's federal tax dollars.
Yes.
But there are tax dollars, and we need to be efficient. And I feel really good that we're taking steps to ensure these people have an opportunity elsewhere,
Yes.
should they choose, so.
Yeah, and also one of the positions, interestingly, the person who was in the position that applied for, we had a vacant supervisor position there as well. That's been vacant since our person departed in February, and so we posted that position, and one of the positions that was slated for elimination, she has actually been promoted. So when the position, when she vacates the position, we will eliminate it. So that was good timing kind of there, so
Oh, yes.
it works out well.
Yes. Well, it's good that more people are gaining employment, too.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
people who they serve, so
Yes.
it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's good to recognize during hard times, we've had to add staff. During good times, we've had to adjust staff down. And
Right.
That's good that we're able to be, addressing both ways, showing good stewardship of the taxpayers' money. So, again, thank you for the leadership on this, and we'll do our best to get everyone placed.
Yeah, great.
But just for clarity, it's not just that the economy's improved, it's also a change in the work rules or...
that too.
That also contributes to that reduction.
Yeah, so the caseloads are down overall, but the case, and by the way, looking at kind of the economic picture, they're not, it's going to continue to decrease. The state rule change is going to accelerate that decrease further, so.
Right. That is a good point.
Okay, good point.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-394. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Resolution number 17-395, in the matter of amending the child placement services contract between the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services and the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and providers as listed.
Next one's yours.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you still David
I'm
Dombrowski?
still David Dombrowski. So this is a Fox Run contract. So we had placed a child with Fox Run back in March, and as we do, we typically do an emergency contract so that we're not tying up dollars in unused contracts. So that came to pass, and now this is the longer-term contract. We have one child placed there currently.
I don't think we actually had a motion and a second.
Now, we're too busy trying to take it.
Yes, sir. It's running away.
I'm so confused now. Okay.
So moved.
All right.
Need a second?
A second, sorry.
All right. See, now I thrown you guys off, so I apologize for that.
Any further discussion?
Do you want me to reiterate all that?
No.
Okay.
No.
We got it. Okay. We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-395. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Oh, David, could I ask you
Sure.
one thing? The Bridges Community Action meeting last night, could you just give us a little report on that?
Sure. So they met, the board met there. We discussed several things. The strategic plan that was developed by Bridges, which I participated in.
Yes.
That actually, we were slated to approve that, but it was tabled last night, so that will come up at next month's meeting, which is May
Okay.
24th. Interestingly, there is a dilemma going on with the composition of the board, and so Rochelle is working with the state. There's a state monitor who's in working with her on kind of the composition of the board and how folks who represent low income are elected to that board.
Okay.
And so she's kind of working through that. Trying to think. Those were the biggest items of discussion
Okay.
last night.
Okay.
There was a couple had suggested donating a house in Sydney, Ohio, because it's part of the six-county consortium
Yes.
now. And so we talked a little bit about the pros and cons of taking on a piece of property and what the property would be used for. And so ultimately, we had asked for a bit more information on that. Plus, we're waiting for an appraisal on the property to determine kind of which direction to move in with that. So,
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Now you can leave.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Resolution number 17-396, in the matter of authorizing participation from the Ohio Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program from Beverly Jobrick and Linda Pierce.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Scott Stevens with the Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. I think I'll start maybe an update with the program overall. The 2016 funding round was the initial year that the commissioners chose to participate as a local sponsor. Those two applications or two applicants are still in the title review process with the Ohio Department of Agriculture. That's a multi month, perhaps multi-year process. I know when I went to the training for the 2017 funding round in December, the state's still working to close some 2014, 2015 easements that they are working through. Now, those probably had title exceptions, some lien or encumbrance or a mortgage or something that they're working with the bank, but it can take a long time to work through those process. Well, at some point in time on those 2016 applicants, Mr. Newhouse's farm and then the Sherman farm, at some point we'll hear back from ODA, and if there are any exceptions in there, we'll start work with the landowners to get those cleared up and try to move forward to a closing date. When that might be, I'm not able to predict that.
And the concerns that expressed will be addressed by that?
Absolutely. Before those we schedule a closing or those come back before the board, the easement exceptions or that easement language will be worked out. And I know I recently just traded a couple emails with Eric Hochstetler and Rob Riley, and they're actively working on that with the ODA and their council. So I'm confident that they'll work it out, and we'll be able to move forward at some point. Right now, we have time to continue that discussion. We're not in a position where we're holding the landowners up or anything and getting to that final closing.
What is the deadline, Scott, to have that program, 2016?
There is no deadline. It takes as long as it takes. Again, there's 20, the state I know, well, as of December the last year, they're working on closing. They had one 2013 and like 3 2014s and numerous 2015s that they were working on. Now, again, that 2013, 2014, there was some title exception, and maybe an oil and gas company that they couldn't track down to release some encumbrance or lien on the property. So if the titles come back clean, you can move a lot forward, but they're still in the R2 2016s are still in review with ODA, so what they might return or what they might ask the landowners to address in there, I don't know.
I think you mentioned earlier that you actually have the languages agreed. They've agreed to the ODA, or the ODA and our...
Yes, the actual easement document itself.
They're just not sure where to put it.
There's some discussion about how that should be housed, exactly.
Okay. Oh, they'll figure that out, I'm sure.
Yeah, Rob, and I'll say as evidenced in for the 2017 applicant, the county engineer, sanitary engineer, economic development director, Scott Sanders, they've all reviewed these. They're okay with them, providing we get this language ironed out, and we will. We certainly will.
So everybody understands, I think all the commissioners are supportive of farmland preservation. We just want to protect the other landowners that could be affected by it down the road.
Absolutely.
That's fair and reasonable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
That's the status on 16?
that's the status on 16.
17, we have 3 parcels?
Three applicants this year. The first one, I believe, was the Beverly Jobrack and her sister, Linda Pierce, a parcel. You'll recognize it, perhaps. It was one of the applicants from 2016. What wasn't able to be funded. So they're back seeking the same opportunity here in 2017. If there's any questions specifically about the farm, she thought she might try to come, but I'm reasonably familiar with the farm and Mrs. Jobrack, and if there's any questions specifically, happy to. Porter Central Road, Porter Township, 92 acres and change. It's adjacent, very near the Sherman parcel that's an active 2016 parcel, and then as well as, I'm pretty sure we've reviewed, there's the Thorpe family has a significant amount of land, about 450 or so acres, that would be in very close proximity to the Jobrack farm as well, that's under donated easement by ODA currently.
Questions on this one in particular?
I've seen the land, and
Yeah, I'm curious about the status of the 17 program, not necessarily this particular this particular application. I don't know if you had any questions on this particular.
So procedurally moving forward, where we'll go from here.
What kind of funding we can expect? How you
We're $301,000 would be the budget to make offers for the landowners, and that offer's pending your approval of the resolutions today, obviously, and then review of the applications, the hard copy applications by the state. They would authorize that offer sometime in mid-June or so, typically is what they shoot for. So that money can change. We were given a little extra funds last year. There's crumbs depending on how the applications come in across the state. If somebody doesn't use that, if we don't use that entire $301,000 budget to make offer based on that calculated value, that money could be given to another local sponsor. So how that money gets shifted around after we submit, we'll see, we'll see. But right now, it'll be $301,000 total.
How do you think that will compare to the values assigned to these three applications?
Well, and we'll look on the Gabriel Farm, one of the 2017 applicants, their maximum offer is well in excess of the $301,000. Now, we only have, right now, $301,000 to make that offer, and should the Gabriel Farm be the high score, the one that we would be authorized by ODA to make the offer to, as it stands right now, that family would have a decision to make whether or not to accept that partial offer of $301,000.
Okay.
The other two landowners, if they would, Mr. Newhouse and Mrs. Jobrack, if they were to be the high scores, the $301,000 would be enough to accommodate both those farms as a full offer, not all three. And I would not foresee the crumbs, those additional funds, those leftovers from other local sponsors being enough that we would make an offer to a full offer to all three farms.
So you can't carry over?
No.
If you don't spend the 301, you can't carry over the difference?
No, and that's the other thing that affects that budget. Let's say, for instance, that 2013 or 2014 easement, they finally decide, hey, we can't get over whatever that exception is. That money comes back into the pot as well to continue on to purchase easements elsewhere, so...
This is the entire list of applications for 2017?
Yes, there's three for 2017, correct.
And the easement language that we work out for the 2016 will apply to the future years?
Yes, absolutely, yes. And at some point in time, if there's a farm that would come before us that we think this modified easement language doesn't fit, then we'll start that over again specific to that farm. But right now, both the 2016 applicants and all the 2017 applicants, the other agencies are confident that they address the concerns that they would have.
That's county engineer and environmental.
Sanitary engineer, economic development director, and our regional planning director, Mr. Sanders.
Yeah, and Farzan now has implemented a process where there's sign-offs.
Yeah, so working with Scott, Commissioner, that's true.
I think that's an important point.
Yes.
We thought, Scott and I talked about that we thought it would be good to consolidate everybody's comments and just on one sheet of paper and associate each one of them with a property so that it's easy for you to see that it has been reviewed by all of our reviewers.
Would Delco also be part of that process?
They probably should be.
They should be.
At one point we had that.
They have been involved. They received all the maps and the applicant farms and everything, and there was no comments were made. However, as we move into my intent is for the 2018 funding round, assuming there is a 2018 funding round, we're going to try to even take another step to formalize that review process and perhaps work through the Regional Planning Tech Review Committee to circulate those farms. And then
I don't think you'd want to assume no response is a yes. I think you need to get a formal yes or no from them.
That's why I like what Farzan is.
Because it could have got laid on somebody's desk or on their computer and never got looked at. I did have one other comment. I'm consistently impressed with the job Soil and Water does. Dish petitions, how you handle this farm preservation issue. You guys do an exceptional job. I just want to say that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good work.
Well, we're here to serve the commissioners as well as the landowners in this process, and I take that seriously.
All right.
No questions?
No other votes or no other question on this? We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-396. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-397, in the matter of authorizing the participation in the Ohio Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program from Gary and Yvonne Newhouse.
So moved. Second?
Discussion? Mr. Newhouse is here. Wrong side there.
Where are you?
Mr. Newhouse, I will, next time. So, Mr. Newhouse is one of the 2016 applicants as well. Both these parcels for the 2017 round are adjacent to or not actually connected to the other parcel, but would be in the same general block of land or same neighborhood. So be the Ostrander and Smart Road area, if you're familiar with that area.
Got relatives buried in the Newhouse Cemetery in the
Yeah.
1850s even.
All right. Right. Yeah, Mr. Newhouse's farm would.
Yeah. I think we're even related in the
Somewhere
in the distant past. I don't.
Recuse yourself.
No, I don't think that's necessary. But anyway, Any
No
other-
questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll vote on this one.
Vote on motion 17-397. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-398, in the matter of authorizing the participation in the Ohio Agricultural Easement Purchase Program from John Gabriel, Hannah Gabriel, and Bruce Gabriel.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. Gabriel's farm, his wife and his brothers would be on Harlem Road, Harlem Township, just south of the Royal American Golf Course, if that gives you a landmark in that
Why are you looking at me?
neck of the woods. I know some folks golf and,
I happen to know where that is.
You know where that is? Excellent. All
I
right.
probably hit a golf ball in his yard.
That's right. Yeah, check it out there. 188-acre parcel there, so large parcel, like the Sherman parcel would have been last year. So, and again, I think it would seem like a fit to me.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-398. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you. I'll keep you posted on our progress, 2016 and otherwise.
Okay.
Mrs. Joe Brack.
I assume that what you want.
Yeah, so we're good. So, we're good. Yeah, we got it. It's all right.
Oh, we did talk about you.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Good luck with the process.
Resolution number
Thank you.
17-399, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for Liberty Bluff, Section 1, and Vinmore Village, Section 3.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag with the Regional Sewer District. The Liberty Bluff Section 2, or Section 1, is located on State Route 315 near our Delco office. So that's 39 units in that subdivision. And then the Vinmar Village is over on Old 3C Road. I assume everyone knows where that is since we're on the third section there. Both of those are our standard subdividers agreements.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-399. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-400, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer developers agreement for the off-site sanitary sewer enforcement improvements at the reserve at Scioto Glen Phase 2.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
This project is in the Scioto Reserve tributary area. It is on the southwest corner of Stites Road and Home Road. And this is basically a developer's agreement for off-site improvements. That way there can be additional development up in the tributary area to the north.
All right.
All right, take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-400. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-401, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for First and Main Lewis Center.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
First and Main is a retirement center. It's located on Polaris Parkway, just east of 23. And they installed sewer. I believe it's about $70,000 of improvements that they're dedicating over to the county that they've installed.
I think I know where that one is.
Yeah, I think it's right behind the Giant Eagle there,
Yeah.
on that little side street that cuts through. Yeah.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-401. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-402, in the matter of approving a facility encroachment agreement between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and CSX Transportation Incorporated for the Liberty Sawmill Sanitary Sewer Extension Project.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
So this is part of the Liberty Sawmill project, it's extending the sewers over to Sawmill Parkway. This location it's in between Liberty Road and Sawmill Parkway. It's on the north-south railroad track there, between Hyatt's and Home. So we're looking at crossing that railroad with our sanitary sewer line. This is a pretty standard agreement. We run everything through the prosecutor's office for that encroachment agreement.
Do we tunnel underneath?
We jack and bore, so we dig a pit on one side and jack it through to the other side, and then stream a pipe back through underneath the railroad. So we do that at
Roads
road
and-
crossings as well. So anywhere that you don't want to impact the surface above, it's pretty standard.
So I assume the railroad continues to operate?
Oh, yeah.
During this
Yeah,
process?
and they'll have flaggers on site and different requirements for making sure that nothing happens to the railroad.
Sure.
And they work well with the county on these projects?
They do, yeah. I mean, the railroad is always a hoop to jump through, that's for sure. Probably one of our biggest hoops, but everything is in place for it to go smoothly.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-402. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-403, in the matter of adopting the Delaware County Sanitary Sewer Master Plan, update 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This
You
is our...
review the whole plan?
Yeah, so this is, I don't know how much discussion I need to give you on this. I think everyone knows pretty clearly what's in the master plan, the $150 million in improvements over the course of about 10 years to allow development to continue and extending the useful life of our system. So,
Yeah, again, this was you've done a great job, you and Mike have done a great job of keeping us in the loop and, getting us involved as the process went along, because it obviously was an extensive plan and very detailed. Great work. It's a great plan. I think everybody is really complimentary. They're really buying into it. It's a great direction for the county to go. It's financially very viable, which is very important. So, yeah, good.
But the old master plan was probably about 12 years old now,
I think it was.
and it was certainly outdated, and it was time, and I guess it's taken about 2 years, if my timing is right, and but very pleased with the results and the work that's been put into it by all.
great, thanks.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-403. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
And that
Thank you,
brings
Tiffany.
us to administrative reports.
Good morning. I believe the SEPCO annual meeting is tomorrow, correct? And I believe Don will be attending for the county. I was planning on attending, but I'm actually going to spend some time with John Melvin across the street. We are in crunch time the last 3 months. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. It looks complete on the outside, but we do have some concerns about all the details, things like paint and light fixtures and the stuff that we don't typically associate with construction, but without which the building is not ready. So we're going to spend a couple of hours going through there and meeting with the contractor and going over the schedule, and hopefully we'll report back to you on Monday on what it looks like.
You have reasons for concern or just cautionary?
Always have reasons of concern when it comes to construction. 3 months to go, there's a lot of work to be done. And so much of this work is sequential. And you just can't load up people on top of people. There's only so much they can do when you've got maybe 20 finishing trades to finish up one room. You've got one person doing the paint, one person doing the electric, one person doing the carpet, one person doing the tile. These are all different trades, and one has to finish and move on before the other one comes in. And there's also the contractor's efficiency portion, which means that, theoretically, if you're working in 20 rooms, you could have 20 crews. Let's get it all done in one day. But as we know, that's not possible. It's going to be one crew going from here to here to here. And once there's enough work left for the next crew, that's when the other crew mobilizes. That is an expectation. They do have to be efficient. So, yeah, there's always room for concern now that we are towards the end. So let's see how it goes.
Boy, remodeling a house is bad enough. I can't imagine. And like you talk sequential, and so, the part didn't, or the whatever didn't arrive, or the wallpapers, yeah. Oh, boy, I'm glad I'm not John Melvin.
In that first year, much like a residential, they'll be coming back to fine-tune things that got missed, et cetera, I assume.
2 great examples come to mind in the last many years. Jane, you probably remember the huge police building that was built in Columbus back in the early 90s?
Yeah, I do, too.
And within
That was a myth.
Yes.
it was very well built, it was state-of-the-art, and within the first year they had issues. And Franklin County Courthouse.
Well, the courthouse, the cell phones wouldn't work
Yes.
in the new courthouse.
In the Franklin County Courthouse?
Yes.
That was not the only issue they had some issues with some staircases, which I won't go into, but they had to come back and fix it. But you're exactly right. When you're putting together something like that, they will be back within the first year to fix things that either were not noticed or popped up or nobody thought about. Thank you.
That it? Okay. Commissioner Lewis?
Well, I heard Senator Portman speak yesterday at a luncheon, and he has been a leader in legislation on the opioid crisis and trafficking, human trafficking, and a lot of his talk was devoted to that. And the people he spoke to, it was the Joanne Davidson Leadership Initiative or Institute, but they were not aware of some of these problems. And so I was really glad that, he said this really isn't lunchtime talk, but this is important, and you need to know this. And so he is very well connected, and spoke to Stephen White, who is his Central Ohio rep. And Stephen was here about a week or so ago, and giving our people some information on what federal programs that we might participate in. And so they would like to come back and maybe even bring Senator Portman back we have Liberty House opening on the 5th. And so I talked to Stephen about that, and Cassie Neff is going to follow up. So we'll see. Get Senator Portman here maybe. But it's great to hear a legislator, and Senator Portman in particular is very well respected, and so he feels very passionate about this. So it's it was a really good talk, very informative, and that's all I had.
Okay.
I have two things very quickly. I attended the Delaware Municipal Court Mental Health graduation event yesterday at 3 o'clock. Judge Sunderman and he and Matt and Tanya together graduated 3 people in the class. And some of them suffered from some of the, maybe not opiates specifically because they didn't get that specific, but certainly had issues similar to that, if not that. And
I'm so glad you could go.
And
that's important.
As we've talked in the past, I'm always intrigued, impressed with what you hear from these graduating people, and they all spoke, and they all shared some of the challenges they've had, and it's something that I think kind of separates us from some other areas as far as how serious we take these issues and how hard we do try to return people to some level of normalcy, and very impressed with all 3 of them. The other thing is also this morning at 8 o'clock, I had to leave early. There's a fatherhood grant program that there's about 20 of us are involved in, and it's a $10,000 grant, but how to spend that money to promote and encourage fathers to be more active as fathers may be separated, they may be in jail, whatever, trying to determine how best to use those dollars to the benefit and maybe seed money for some other things. So, and that program is still being evaluated as far as exactly where it's going to be and what form it's going to take. So that's all I have.
Just a couple of things. Had a Records Commission meeting yesterday, and that went well. Chris Shaw continues to do really nice work. The issue that she brought up, which was kind of interesting, is her association, the county, CARMA, the County Archivists and Record Managers Association, is advancing an issue to make record releases consistent across the state, because after passage of long periods of time. Because today, some counties will release all records after 100 years. Some counties will never release records. So you have adoption records, that are sealed forever or for 100 years, depending on the jurisdiction you're in. Lunacy records. Interestingly, they used to call mental illness lunacy.
Oh, my gosh.
And so some of these things have been sealed for 100-plus years, and they get requests occasionally to unseal them.
Oh, my gosh.
So their association is advancing legislation at the State House to try to standardize that. So again, it presents some interesting
It's going to
issues.
require some money, too, because some of these townships probably don't have the finances to do some of that.
Yeah.
speculating.
Yeah. So it is. Interesting questions. And Chris is on the board of this association, so she's providing, again, good leadership on Delaware County's behalf to try to standardize that. We've got the Morpsey State of the Region lunch today. We've got the Here, Ohio Central Ohio Symphony is Saturday, and that's great. Hopefully everybody can make it. It's a great jewel of an asset for Delaware County and the city. We had our community grants and community enhancement grants presentations this Monday, and I thought they went very well. They were very well presented. A lot of
Yes.
great organizations just presenting and asking for support for their various projects. But again, it's just kind of a compliment to Ohio or to Delaware that we have so many committed people that do such good work in their particular area. Lastly, we are ready to send out, we haven't actually sent it out yet, but the Competitive Advantage Project letter. Jane will be sending that out tomorrow, I think, is the plan. We finalized our priorities of 7. I think we ended up with 7 projects. There it is. And anybody want to take any guess on what number 1 was?
East-west corridor, Big Walnut.
Big Walnut was number 1. And then again, there are 7, there could have been 6, there could have been 10. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that need to be done. Obviously, we're all aware of it. So this letter will go out, we'll send copies to everyone who participated, and again, hopefully Morpsey and Columbus 2020 can use this to the advantage of the region and Delaware County, and get some of these projects funded and done sooner. Because again, they're all good projects that will help. Do we have no executive session today? Okay. Well, with that, I guess we'll adjourn. So we are adjourned. Bang it.